Thank you for joining me today, Ken and Jim. It's been a cold day, but we'll warm up and hopefully go through the last few months. First of all, Jim, how has life at Forfar been so far? So it was a baptism of fire, wasn't it, thrown straight into a relegation battle?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm used to that type of battle, but it's been obviously a challenging few months. Been made warmly welcome, big challenge. There's been signs of improvement, but obviously the biggest concern is still the position we're in. I hope to continue to move the club forward. We're off the bottom of the league. We've had our troubles to seek, but we're not looking for any excuses. We're looking to try and make the best out of the remaining 12 games.
Would you say it's probably a battle of three now? Queen's Park, us and Albion, to sort of try and avoid the drop?
Well, I mean, at this moment in time, it probably is. I think we had an opportunity last Saturday to bring another two teams probably into it, Airdrie and East Fife. With them both winning, it makes the task harder. Because you start to run out of games. However, that if a team goes in a bad run and a team goes in a decent run, then you can certainly look to bring someone else into it. At the minute, our Rovers are on a poor run, and ourselves and Queen's Park haven't quite struck the consistency that we would hope. But the most important thing is that we're still in that battle, battling to stay in this league.
And you sort of touched on it, the performances have certainly improved. We had those couple of wins in January and a very close battle in Airdrie, although they probably were the deserved winners. So it certainly seems that the team are wanting to avoid a relegation playoff, certainly.
Spirits have certainly improved within the dressing room. There's been some major changes. We've lost some key players from the first win against East Fife at home. As I say, we lost a lot of players through injury. And that we had a poor spell after the cup defeat, losing players week after week, and obviously that reflected in losing games. We managed to steady the ship a wee bit with a great result down at Ayr United against all the odds, but the lads showed some great fight, great character. We're a really depleted squad, and this month obviously we got back-to-back wins, and we'll hope to sort of get that sort of target in mind, which is the 3 in a row, which proved difficult. Last Saturday I think we played an excellent side who have improved in the January transfer window. Obviously we're a bit disappointed in the January transfer window, but like a lot of other managers in around the sort of leagues that we're in, the real struggle in terms of availability for players and quality of players was hard for everyone. We certainly didn't want to just add to, a budget or a wage bill for players that we felt that couldn't come in and do themselves justice. We lost out on a number of targets, but we certainly didn't lose out to teams in a similar situation. A lot of players that we did miss out on wanted to remain full time, or the full time option, or basically they wanted to go back and fight at their clubs who were playing at a higher level. So. We've managed to add 2 young lads for Ross County, who I think will do very well for us. It takes time for young lads to settle in. We've had 2 games, we've won one of those games, and we keep looking to try and target between now and the end of the season what we'd like to bring in for the new season.
And certainly because of the injuries, it did allow many of the youngsters in our development squad to push through. I mean, that's Ben Starkey's made a few appearances, Murray's back from injury, and Matty Aitken's been sort of a first team regular. So obviously you must be proud with the youth development as well.
Well, it's great to see the youths, the local lads coming through and doing well in the under-20s and making that step up. That's why you put the investment, in the youth system that you create, and that's the benefit of it when you see young players like that coming through. When we lost Murray after the East Fife game, I think we were really affected. We've lost Mark Scott as well, from then on we're having to sort of, I would say, maybe bring in some players back in who weren't quite performing at their best. There has been some changes. We've let a couple of players go for that reason, to try and create a bit of space and use the best of the squad that we've got. Obviously, I'd like to probably added a couple more within there. But you know, I think the squad that we've got, you know, if we can get Dale back to fitness, obviously, and stay clear of injuries and suspension between now and the end of the season, which obviously is not the case in terms of suspension, then you know, I think we've got enough in that dressing room that can certainly keep us in this division.
And sort of, I suppose, touching on injuries, you say that's Dale, is he nearly back to full fitness? How many more weeks do you think he'll be?
Well, we're very hopeful. He's done a part of the training this week. We hope to increase that tonight. It's a bit early to see whether he'll be involved for the Alloa match, but certainly, hopefully, all being well, he'll get a full week's training next week with a view to the Stranraer match. The Stranraer match, you know, we've got to take care of the Alloa match first. I think they're probably as good as a side as the top two. We've proved that. We're going away to Ayr United on Saturday. You know, over the last few weeks as well, we've had players, maybe experienced players, sat on the bench. You know, Mark Miller hadn't been able to train for 2 weeks, so we just couldn't take a chance on Saturday. Eddie Malone's been nursing a hamstring problem, so you've got to try and get these players back when they're ready, rather than rush them back. And that's the case with Dale. We're trying to be patient because we know that he's going to be a big player for us. That's why we brought him here. It's that type of player, I think, that we've missed in that forward area.
And the other injuries is Michael Kennedy and Mark Scott. Is there any sort of news on those two?
Well, Mark Scott, we've got the results back from the scan, and it seems as though that there's going to have to be a damage to his cartilage, which will obviously have to be repaired. When that's going to get done at this moment in time, I can't tell you. Michael Kennedy, you know, I see him regularly in the gym where I live, so he's working hard, and the chairman has informed me that he's ahead of schedule. So, you know, it's good to see that you know, when they're out with an injury, that they're working hard in the rehab, because, you know, if that's the case, then the benefits are they can maybe get back ahead of schedule, or certainly back on time. And if they're lazy when they're out in terms of the rehab, then it only delays their return to the first team.
And is there any sort of, we've heard quite a bit of how the team spirit is and the players getting on. Is there any sort of news behind the scenes that we might need to know about, Ken?
Well, as the window's closed now, so that stops a lot of possibilities there, but the squad's at 22 players, 2 are pretty long-term injuries, 2 are out on loan, so it's not a large squad. It'd be nice having more players in, certainly through the window period, but then as you read in the papers, I think just about every manager's saying it's been difficult. Very difficult to get players through and get deals done, and I think the last day was a lot of toing and froing, trying to get paperwork here, there and everywhere. It creates a false situation, I always think, the transfer window, but it's just what we have to operate within. However, there's 4 players in, Dale being a key player. Just what we saw in the half game down at Wraith Rovers, he's going to do well for us, and we know what he can do anyway from having been here many years, over many years. So we're just keen to get him playing, and as Jim said, avoid further injuries, because it's been a pretty horrendous first half to the year with what we're up to 10 out at one time, and just trying to patch teams together, and actually did very well, all things considered. But no, we're where we are, we're optimistic. We expect, if that's maybe not too strong a word, we expect to stay up. We're looking to stay up. It's there to be done. I don't think it's just necessarily a league of 3, despite it looking a bit like that. I think the teams above can be caught. Still 12 games to go. We still, there's 2 or 3 in fact still to play twice, so some 6-pointers in there. And I think every team in the league can be beaten. You know, we're all able of beating each other, and I certainly don't exclude us from that. I think we just need to score 1 or 2 more goals. I think we've seen improvement over the last few weeks. Team spirit's excellent, I think. First 20-30 minutes on Saturday they were really good. Maybe if we just got a goal at that point, it could have been a totally different outcome. So there's not a lot between them. And jumping subjects a wee bit, maybe it's also good to point out we've probably got 2 of the best goalkeepers in the league on our books here. I feel a wee bit sorry for Grant, because he's been kept out by a man who's in absolutely superb form. Because Mark's been doing really well week in, week out for us. Some of the things he gets in the way off and stops at, I'm not sure how he gets there, but it's a joy to watch. But anyway, no, we're very optimistic. bring on the next game. Let's see if we get another 3 points and keep moving up. And I'm sure if we reel another team or two in, puts pressure on them, and you just never know.
And you've mentioned Mark, who Callum has been certainly probably our player of the season so far, and that's him now under contract until 2020. And we've also got more players staying on. Dale Hilson's for 18 months, Andy Monroe, Jamie Bain, all sorts signed contract extensions, which certainly went down well with the fans. And the plans for more contract extensions.
Yeah, well, we've encouraged Jim to look ahead and build, because there's nothing worse than in the close season through the summer. You start with a clean sheet of paper. It is better getting a step or two down that way. So encourage Jim to look at his build for next year, and yeah, that's an ongoing process. So yeah, we've got 1 or 2 key players in already, and pleased to do so. I'm sure it suits them as well. They have continuity, and they know where they're going for the next 18, 24 months, whatever.
I mean, we're certainly still in talks with some of the other players that are currently out of contract in the summer, and we're continuing to try and encourage them. We hope to have some good news in that, certainly before the end of next week. The current group of players, I think, are very keen to stay. And it's about trying to reach agreements with them so that come the end of the season that we're in a stronger position, that there's not too many positions to fill and we're not losing our better players to teams around us, as has been in the past. So it's been a difficult one. From that perspective, you've got to try and look after your best players. There's no doubt that Mark McCallum's the best goalkeeper in the league. He's proved that. To secure his services has been excellent, and we've started to do that, as you say, with a number of other players. So the talks are ongoing, and we'll continue to try and look ahead to next season as well, to target what players we think will be of a huge benefit and bring success to the football club.
And if we sort of go through just most of the transfers that we've had this month, we had a few sort of loan deals expired and short-term contracts. We've got likes of Connor, who was who came in, Lewis Milne, and these sort of players. Their contract just expired, and were they wanting to stay, or were they happy to move on?
Connor Quigley was a loan player from Dundee, and Connor was not offered a new contract at Dundee. I think his contract was up at the end of January. And Connor decided, we had him in loan until the 15th of January, but Connor decided to go back home pre-Christmas, which wasn't ideal for us, to try and win a contract somewhere in Ireland. So that was out with our hands. It was up to him to try and secure a longer term deal at Dundee, or will it be here, but he chose to go back to Ireland, which left us in a difficult position. Obviously we brought in Lewis Milne. Well, Lewis was on an amateur form, because obviously couldn't sign him outside the window, and we made that clear to him. But it was, as I say, it was a chance for him to prove, to try and win a contract here. Maybe quite didn't get the game time that he would hoped, and obviously got an offer from Montrose and decided that he wanted to go there. So players want to play games, they want to be guaranteed games, and obviously he got that there, and so we had to make the decision and obviously let him go, because he was only on an amateur contract. A couple of loan players expired, obviously Connor and Scott Lockhead. I think initially Scott Lockhead probably started better, but it sort of went the other way for me. I really feel that we didn't quite get the best out of them, whether it was the way we played, or whether it was the sort of the change from under 20s football to sort of I would say men's football. I just felt that there wasn't that adaptation I expected. Connor did well in games, and I just felt that with the loan system the way it was, they were on emergency loans, that we had to look at other areas, hence why they went back. Brought the two young lads in for Ross County, and again highly thought of. Seen Dingwall a few times, and and really keen to sort of add that to that in the middle of the park, especially when Murray was out as well. Gives us that energy, for his size. and obviously young Ross, highly thought of as well. He's got, still got a bit to prove and learn. And again, it's the step up at this level. It's the same with our own youngsters when they come into the 20s. It's not the ideal situation to bring them in a relegation battle, but hopefully over the remaining 12 games they can prove their value, as can the rest of the squad.
I was just going to say there's been a continual turn of players, which is inevitable. We've had 11, maybe 12 players out over the course of the season for different reasons, but that's as Jim explains, part of the loan deal. Some players want to move on, there's a couple have moved on to other clubs, transferred out. It's just the way life is, and there's a need to freshen, there's a need to keep moving forward. Jim has to put his own stamp on the squad, and we do our best to create the budget to make it available for him. So probably now you're looking for free agents. It's an ongoing process, it never stops.
It is, yeah. At the minute we can't sign any more loan players outside the window. We've used upper standard in the emergency loans, so in the development loans we're very close to concluding one on the eve of the transfer window, or sorry, on the night of the transfer window. But without going into it too much, through no fault of our own, a couple of them didn't go through, the paperwork didn't go through, so again that was disappointing, because you've worked hard over the last few months targeting these players, and you think you're getting there, and it falls through at the final hurdle. These are just some things that you've just got to deal with. The current group of players, I'm sure I'll know the fight that they're in, and everyone's desperate to play. Chairman mentioned there about the sort of lack of goals. There has been a lack of goals, particularly at home, and while at times I've been critical, I've been hard on strikers. I have to make sure that we keep encouraging the right areas. That's from the wide areas. Defenders get up, when they get up into the opposition for set plays, they've got to be more aggressive, and I'm sure that once we find that confidence, then hopefully to start to see some consistency. And consistency as well in terms of team selection. When you're winning games, the team picks itself. But we haven't had that luxury of being able to pick the same team really twice, whether it be injury or suspension, so we haven't had that continuity. But we'll hopefully try and find that between now and the end of the season.
And another, I suppose, loan that expired was Josh Peters, but he was then released and almost instantly was back here. Was that because was he wanting to sort of join Forfar, or was it what he was like last season and being free agent, grab him as soon as we could?
Well, I think a lot of people forget, sometimes the level that Josh was playing at a couple of years ago, and the age he is. He's still a young lad learning his trade, so there is a lot of things in there that he needs to work on. You can see from his record last year that when Josh hits top form, the benefit that he can bring, and again it comes down to confidence. He's maybe not found that same confidence from that sort of start that he had last year, and with the right type of partner, the right type of training, and certainly hopefully Josh can find that. And he was going back to Livingston and surplus the requirements, and I felt that rather than sat there for 18 months, it was better that we get the use out of him here. It's favourable terms for us, so we took up that option to do that.
Same man scored a very good goal now at Start Spark, so just a few more like that, but it's probably the supply. He's an excellent finisher, it's just we've got to find the supply for him.
Josh's strength is in the box, we know that. Maybe his weakness is outside the box, we need to try and make sure we're putting more supply into the box, and that way Josh's ratio of goals would rise, and that's the same for any striker. But I just feel that we haven't put enough quality into the box for them. We haven't had that real natural wide player that we've been trying for the last couple of months to get, a winger that goes beyond people. We've been a wee bit unfortunate not to add that, but we have to get the best out of what we've got, and we'll continue to work away at that.
And it shows the lack of goals was certainly one of your top priorities, because it shows with the amount of strikers that we tried to brought in. Dale brought in, then got injured, and then that meant that we brought in Greg Hurst and Ross McIver, who sort of plays forward. And is that, I suppose, typically to get more strength out wide to get that service into the box, but also to.
Well, we did try and get a wee bit more experience in that forward area during the transfer window. As I mentioned earlier, we lost out for different reasons. Greg I've known for a number of years through St Johnstone. He's been out and loan a few times. I know that he's got goals in his game. Again, still a young lad, still learning, as is Ross. And I think once they start to find their form and start to find the back of the net, they've only just come into the football club, then we'll see the benefits of that. And again, it's about confidence. When your team's winning and you're playing well, you start to do the things that come naturally to you. Whereas if it goes the other way, you start to maybe get a wee bit tight in terms of possession, in terms of front of goal, and you snatch at things and you pick the wrong option. And we'll hope to keep encouraging them to do the right things and focus on their strengths.
This is where the loan system should work both ways. I think give it a few games, they get used to the system, they start to flourish, which is great for them, learning the game as well and what they take back to their home clubs. So yeah, it's not, as I said earlier, it's not a large pool, so they're going to get an opportunity here to play, and they'll get every encouragement to do what they're good at.
And no transfer window is complete without a few leavers. And we've had Uzi, Coxey and Craig both all left for fairly different reasons, it's fair to say. But I suppose was that just all part of trying to get your own stamp on the team and just try and get the best?
Players come and go. That's part and parcel of football. Some players are keen to take up a new challenge. Some are keen to stay, and do they fit in? And you have to assess them over that period. Uzi, a lot of time for, but maybe just didn't quite get the goals that we felt that we needed from him. And there was a persistence from other clubs to pursue his interests, and we put it to him, and obviously that was the reason he moved on. We're hopefully getting the right replacements in for him, because I think we only got one goal, which again, I'm not just it's not just having a go at Uzi, because obviously it's the way we were playing. So we went with our best wishes. Obviously Coxey, family reasons, we did our best, tried to pull out all the stops to keep him, but we had to admit defeat in that, and allow him to move on reluctantly. But we certainly want players that want to remain at the football club and give it their all, but particularly the position we're in. One thing I've got to say is, in games he was giving us all, so we can never question that. And Paddy, certainly was one that was a late one towards the end of the transfer window. But with the players that we had coming back and the players that I was bringing in, I felt it was an area that we were going to be overloaded in, and I felt that it was the right time for maybe an experienced player like Paddy, rather than to keep him at the football club and no play games. It was better that he had an opportunity to go and play, hence why we let him move on.
And the other transfers I haven't mentioned was Darren White's now stayed for the whole season, and he certainly did he helped us out certainly in quite a few matches. And what I know fans are certainly saying so far, the signing, if you can say, is the return of Andy Munro, who has really slotted straight back into the team. But those are two very defensive players, which was certainly an area we wanted to strengthen, wasn't it?
Well, obviously we didn't have a lot of cover in centre defence, with Andy being out, hence the reason they brought Darren White in initially on an emergency loan. I think Darren's done fairly well, still a young lad developing, learning his trade, and again coming from under-20s football, and I think we're starting to see him progress, albeit he's been out injured a wee bit since the Stranraer game, I think. We've lost his services, hopefully he's back this weekend. But you're right, the return of Andy, a character in the dressing room, certainly well liked the supporters. Was out on loan, and we just felt that we had an ideal player to come back rather than go searching. Clyde were very keen to keep him, but Andy's come back, had a great start to his comeback, and was keen to extend. I think he's shown that how much he enjoys being at the football club, and you know, when we were looking to extend the contracts of, you know, current members of the squad, then we felt it was right to tie Andy up as well, and I think we'll see the benefit of that, certainly in the remaining games and for the seasons to come.
I think interestingly with Darren as well, he's quoted as a midfielder on his whole club website, but he actually played centre back and he's played full back for us and acquitted himself very well. So again, it's very good training for him and development as well. But the interesting thing with Andy is immediately come in, the volume of the noise went up quite a bit, and you hear that on the park as well. He's very good at keeping them focused and pushing them on, and I think the type of humour he has is well received. But he was looking for his statue around the park when he arrived. Of course, we've not actually got round to that yet, but no, he's excellent round the place, and that's great in the situation we're in. We need leaders, men who are going to be vocal and push everybody on, and he's very much of that type.
So how would you, sort of Ken, as sort of chairman, sort of looking at the club as a whole, how would you judge the January window? Are you very pleased with the advancements that were made?
I suppose you're never going to say we've got 100% of targets, and then it's great we've moved on beyond, because you need a bottomless pit of money to be able to do these sort of things, and we do have to watch our budget. We tried to get players that were stretching the budget, but the window is a difficult period. Totally delighted with those that have come in. We've seen them given a different dimension to the team, and starting to move it on. It needs time now. It's all work in progress. Jim has come in mid-season, so this is his first window, and there's not a lot you can do in a January window really. So summer will be the main time when we'll see the changes, and we're working towards that already. So it's work in progress, and we're making progress. As I said earlier, this year's still here to get a result out of it. We're not looking down the way, we're looking up the way. It's realistic, sort of positive.
And you pleased with what you've been able to achieve in the month, Jim?
No, I'm disappointed. Disappointed because I certainly feel that, you know, I would have liked to have added another 2 real bits of quality or experience, but you know, it wasn't through the lack of trying, you know, but and certainly I had lots of support, as the chairman said there. There'd be certainly some targets there that were stretching the budget, but they were willing to do that. But you know, for different reasons, players want to remain full time. You know, as I said, want to remain at their football clubs. They might have better offers somewhere else, but I think it was really down to the full time aspect, and that's the type of quality that we went after. Some experienced professionals have played, have been playing at a higher level, currently still at a higher level, and we felt that they would be a real benefit to the football club. And you know, as I say, the January transfer window was a difficult one, because a lot of players still under contract, a lot of clubs spent their budget, and you know, the movement's not quite there that it used to be, because obviously there's restrictions on the loan system as well. So you know, we do our homework for the summer. We know the targets, the areas we need to strengthen, and we just continue to try and strive to bring the best quality available that Forfar can attract.
So, like you said, there's not really much more movement in terms of players and things, but have you got sort of targets other than winning matches before the end of the season to try and maybe work on some areas in training and maybe change a few things, anything like that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to have a full squad to pick from, you know, on a Thursday night, so we can do things, or a Tuesday night, and take that into a Saturday and see it continue in terms of continuity, you know, team selection and winning games. I just focused on the opposition. I don't look too far ahead. We've got 2 centre halves suspended for the Stranraer game a week on Saturday, but we'll have to deal with that, you know. But between now and then, we've got a very difficult match at Alloa, who are coming off the back of an excellent result. So the target is just to look at the next game, focus on the next game, and prepare for that as best we can, and take something out each game, and take the positives and work on the negatives, and take it into the following game. 12 games to go, so there's still plenty of room for improvement, plenty of areas to work on, and And for me, the target is to keep moving forward. At times you might take a step back, but the focus is to get back up again, roll the sleeves up, and how quickly you bounce back is the key in this game.
And is there any sort of other news that you'd like to mention before we wrap up that might not the sort of corporate news or anything like that?
No, if I could say just maybe a more general thank you. Just when I read all the notes on Facebook and whatever else and the comments made here and there by the supporters, I think they understand what's going on. I think they see the progress, they know of a bit to go. It's not easy, anybody watching a defeat any Saturday, and we all feel it the same way. But no, just thank the supporters and all the volunteers and helpers that keep us going round about here, because that in turn helps generate the budget to help this man move the club forward. So it's a team effort all around the place. I'm very grateful for that, and just let's keep going, let's keep focused and keep together.
I suppose it's from what I've noticed when up in the stands filming is that the crowds, even though when we were going through that poor form sort of in the autumn, crowds didn't seem to drop, so that sort of obviously you have to commend the fans for loyalty and sticking to their club, whereas you might think some might walk when you're not doing so well.
No, I can't say I've noticed a lot of negativity coming in. We want to move forward, there's no doubt about it, and there's some extremely loyal supporters there and grateful for that. And there's a lot of good people through all the hospitality side as well, and we communicate with them every match as well, so it's good there. These days there's not an awful lot of travelling support for all clubs just about, but we have a hardy bunch travel to some pretty cold and draughty corners of Scotland, and grateful for that because they make themselves heard, and the players do appreciate it. I know that they like to hear the encouragement, so it's that extra man in the stand.
Yeah, with great support. I mean, you see the sort of the feeling when we come off the pitch at East Fife a couple of weeks ago. I mean, supporters, loyal supporters support the team through thick and thin. You can never keep everyone happy. Everybody has their own views, their own opinions, how your team should play, the system you're playing. At the end of the day, they just want to see their team win. Sometimes when the position you're in, it's not important how you play, it's about getting the result, because results are, that's the bragging rights. Put whatever it is they want to write. And the league doesn't lie, as simple as that. I've always said I want to try and build an attractive team. But first and foremost, I have to build a winning team, and that attractiveness might come second. As long as you're given 120% or 200%, whatever it may be, in every game, I think even in defeat, supporters can accept that. It's when you roll over and allow teams to sort of trample over the top of you, then that's a hard one to take. There's been some times when that's happened, and hopefully it won't happen too much in the future, because sometimes you're up against a better team in the day, who maybe full time, who maybe have a stronger squad, but as you see at places like Ayr United, when we went down there, we virtually, very little in reserve. We came back with a performance and a spirit that gives supporters a lot of hope, and hopefully we can continue to do that between now and the end of the season.
And I suppose one last thing to mention is your backroom staff. You've now got used to Barry, and Kevin has put his boots back on and has certainly given his all. And sort of getting used to a new backroom staff, because is that sort of just one of those things, is it? Or?
Well, it's not any different from working with people that you've worked with before. I mean, they're football people. They both played at a very high level, Kevin in particular. You take something from them both, you give them both responsibility. You try not to take it all on your shoulders yourself. It's important you listen to them. Obviously at the end of the day, the buck stops with me, but there's no point me, having someone that's not willing to sort of contribute the way I need them to contribute. So again, we make sure that we try and get the best out of each other as a team. And we might not agree in everything in terms of selection, substitutions, performances, that's our idea. The important thing is we're all trying to win the same game, and we we continue to do that. We discuss how we're going to play, we discuss what we feel was the best, and we try and prepare and plan for that for each game, looking ahead. When it comes to targets, we're using our contacts to try and get targets in. Again, we've all got different contacts, and that's where the benefit is of sometimes a freshness that you're going down a different channel, because you're looking at different contacts from them. That certainly helps to encourage players towards the football club.
Kevin's certainly been a plus to us when he's been forced into putting the boots on again and come out, and he's shown he's a quality player. 90 minutes is a big ask for somebody that's come back, but there's a real footballer in there, and he's done an excellent job for us there. Just a little aside to all that, we thought we had found that extra little bit of luck as well, that I gave Jim a Brady before a couple of the games, and we got results. So
Ayr United,
Ayr United game was the first one. Brady on the way there, we got a win. So if that makes the difference, we'll keep it going. So kept it.
Much from that way.
No, there is a downside to that, right enough. But kept it going till Saturday, where I don't know, it must have been an onion one or something. We just didn't get the result on Saturday. So
we'll have a pie on Saturday.
I had to draw on board on that one. But if it works, we'll have a go for it anyway.
Now, I've got a few superstitions, so the chairman's starting to catch on.
Yeah, I'm not superstitious, but I don't want to risk it either. If it works, we'll keep with it.
Thank you very much for inviting me here tonight, and thank you for sharing your insights on the season, and let's hope we can still be in League One next season.
Sure.